One of the things that Eric and I find ourselves involved in a lot of times with annuities is laddering those annuities.
Right. It's a technique or a strategy that we employ that uses multiple annuities with basically different maturity dates. So you would start with perhaps a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year, different layers.
I think a lot of folks, Eric, are familiar with CDs,
Right.
and you're familiar with CD laddering, and you may not have called it laddering, but staging your CDs
staggering.
over a period of time. But it works very well for annuities for different reasons.
Right. Well, and so what are some of those reasons? Safety,
Right.
because you can use 3 different companies.
Diversification.
Diversification.
Right. It helps with that safety.
Right. Then you've also got return. I mean,
Right. If you're wanting to grow your money, and we're in a very low interest rate environment. So what do we think is going to happen? Maybe over the next 3 to 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, we expect interest rates to rise because
Right.
they're at all-time lows. They're
Right.
almost at zero in the case of the Fed rate. So,
Sure.
So we expect to see growth. So, but what do you do now? In order to get the biggest return right now, you have to commit to 7, 8, 9, 10
pretty long
years.
period of time, right?
So is it a smart decision to say, I'm going to put all my money in a 10-year product right now, knowing that rates are likely to go up in, say, 3 to 4 years?
It probably isn't if you're looking for growth.
Right. But are you willing to sacrifice 3 years of growth just waiting?
Well, the alternative to that, though, Eric, is if we don't do anything, we get no return at all.
Well, actually, we lose money.
Or we'll lose money because of inflation.
Inflation.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Exactly. So by looking at, and then in the case of return, staggering those things. So
Right.
so after monies are coming due at various intervals.
Yes.
It gives you. Now, the one thing I like to use annuities for in laddering is the income riders and the income guarantees.
Right. Which is a completely different way of looking at annuities and using them, but it's been very effective for our clients.
Right. The strength of an annuity right now, especially the hybrid annuities, is the guarantees of income in deferral.
Right.
You still have 5, 6, 7% out there that you can get in a deferred
Right.
for income.
Right.
So if you use a stage 1 annuity to perhaps turn income on right away, knowing that you've got this guarantee and deferral, your stage 2 or the second rung of the ladder,
Right.
you can turn on in.
Which helps us to offset inflation because we know that initially we can start off with an income that would be adequate for that time period, but that we're going to need to supplement that income 5 years, 8 years, 10 years down the line. So the next annuity kicks in at that stage, which is laddered.
Exactly. And then it's even nice to have an optional rung that may sit out there that you may never even anticipate turning it on, but if you have longevity that you don't either anticipate or something happen, you've got that third one out there that's in deferral,
Right.
getting those guarantees.
Right.
So it becomes that additional rung.
Which it can pass on to the heirs,
Right.
or you can turn it on if you need it. One of the things that we really don't know is right now what's going to happen to certain pensions,
Right.
what cutbacks or things might happen with Social Security. So it's nice to have that contingency, that annuity out there that's going long term.
Right. And it's nice to have one that's especially geared for growth. So
Right.
it's you know that it's going to be at this level here, this level here, this level here. The guarantees.
Right.
Having those guarantees out there.
So when would it maybe not make sense to ladder?
Not use a ladder? Well, obviously, if you limited assets. I mean, there's just times where there are minimum deposit requirements, and if you have
Right.
limited assets, you may only have an option of one annuity. So that's one.
When we say limited assets, what are we? I mean, maybe 100, 200,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. I guess it depends on the income that you need. It depends on the growth that you need.
Right. It depends.
I do know the
on
more money that you have, folks, especially when you start getting up there in the 400 to a million plus, makes a lot of sense to ladder and diversify. So as compared to maybe below 400,000, there can be some good reasons to still ladder and still
Sure.
diversify. But you have to look at it a little closer.
Right, and one of the things we run into a lot is much of the time you'll see one specific annuity that performs
Yes.
best for somebody's situation.
Right.
And there's just not another comparable
Right.
piece that does the same thing.
So the trade-off is that to get the diversification, the safety, the laddering that maybe you're looking for, you have to take considerably less in benefits.
It's simply deciding to take a pay cut. And
Right.
if you value the other things you get in the willingness to take a pay cut or a return
Right.
cut,
Right.
that's what that balance is.
And then there are, again, some annuities out there which, on the growth stage, where it's not just income or the pay cut, where they give a really nice death benefit.
Sure.
And then they give on top of that death benefit, they will give a nice return. So that you would maybe have the potential to see somewhere between maybe a 6% to 10% return from a very safe position with your assets.
Yeah.
And it may be a situation where a person would say, hey, because I want this to go on to my heirs, I don't really need to ladder it, because this gives me, and depending on the amount of money.
Right, and it's the guarantees.
Right.
If you're
Right.
getting a guarantee, contractual guarantee from that, in this case, from an annuity that's superior to something else
Yes.
that's offered by anybody. So it's
Right.
it's if you're willing to take less and go here and split them, that's an option. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you know your best circumstances lays right here, sometimes you'll decide not to ladder.
Right. So I would say, just for folks, as we kind of wind things up here, that in most cases, laddering is a good thing and works and should be looked at. Occasionally, though, it's not. I mean, occasionally you're going to want to go with one company that gives you the greatest benefit, and it isn't going to make as much sense to ladder.
And the best way to say this is, you know what? Sit down with somebody that can run the numbers for you, talk to them
Right.
about what the pros and the cons are, and then ultimately you get to make the decision.
Yeah.
Now, it should always be, I think, one of the things that's part of the consideration and part of the discussion. And for most advisors, that's exactly how they'll present it. Here's option one. Here's option 1 and 2.
Right.
Here's how that
Right.
works out.
What are you comfortable with?
Exactly.
Right.
Where's your comfort level?
Right.
You're in control.
Right. Pick what's best for you.
Exactly. Thanks for checking us out.
Thank you.